Hey guys, Plonkerboy900 here with yet another challenge video. You may have noticed that I made a few videos recently on Ultra Red, which is a ROM hack that gives every single Pokemon a regional form. Well, there's actually another game that features these, Blazing Emerald. I've already done a video on this game, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already, but let's talk about today's challenge. Today we find out, can you beat Pokemon Blazing Emerald using only regional forms? The rules are pretty self-explanatory. I can only use regional or Hoennian forms in battle. I can use other Pokemon outside of battle for 8 gems, but that's it. As always, no items in battle, but held items are allowed, and that's pretty much all the rules. Also, shout out goes to these people who found the dabbing Delibird in the last one. He's in this video too, so if you see him, just comment down below the timestamp and you might get featured in the next video. With all that said and done, let's get this challenge started. I start the game and name our character Juzo. As always, comment down below if you get the reference. The first regional form I can find is a Venonat, which is found in Petalburg Woods. In this game it's a bug and dark type, and it can actually evolve into 2 different Pokemon depending on the gender. I'll show you the other one once we evolve it. I catch it and add it to the team and do some training before facing off against Roxanne. She starts off with an Aeron, which is kind of a problem, as it resists all my moves. I go for Signal Beam though and it still does a great amount of damage, but she hits back with a Rock Tomb for a good chunk of our health as well. I am able to take it out with one more Signal Beam, and thankfully Geodude goes down in one hit, so we're just down to our final Pokemon Rhyhorn. I still outspeed and go for another Signal Beam, and much to my surprise we get another one-hit KO. Considering we're weak to Rock, this was an insanely easy first gym. Once I get to Dewford Town, I do some training in the Granite Cave, and actually find another regional form. This time it's a normal electric type Dunsparce, which is definitely something I'm interested in. If you've seen my last video, you'll know that this thing can evolve, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. The second gym leader isn't Brawly, but it is in fact Blake, who uses dark types. Murkrow's up first, so I lead off with our new Dunsparce, and we have the super effective Spark, so after surviving a pursuit, we can actually get a one-hit KO. Sneasel's up next, so I swap into Venonat, and we have the super effective Signal Beam, which isn't quite enough to take it out in one hit, but her quick attacks really aren't doing that much damage, so one more takes it out, and we're down to our final Pokemon Houndour. I outspeed and go for another Signal Beam for good damage, but we unfortunately get paralysed by a Glare, and then she heals up with an Oran Berry. We now get outsped as she goes for a Flame Wheel, but we somehow live the hit with just 2 health remaining, and we don't get fully paralysed, so one more's enough to finish it off, winning us the second badge. On my way to Morville, I actually find another Pokemon that has a regional form, this time Tangela. It's a pure fighting type in this game, and I actually really like this design. It also has the ability Barbed Nest, which is basically fluffy mixed with rough skin. It's actually a really good ability. I face off against May, but this fight wasn't really a problem. Wingull is up first, and despite getting hit by a critical hit, we just take it out with 2 feint attacks. Ponytail's up next but goes down just as easily in a couple of body slams, and her last Pokemon Ivysaur thankfully misses the Sleep Powder a couple of times, so 3 Signal Beams are all we need to get the KO, and we beat May with no problems. Before facing the third gym though, we actually evolve Venonat into Muramoth. If our Venonat was female, this is what we would have got, but actually I think I prefer this design. With it I take on the third gym leader Watson, but this was a weird fight. Luxio's up first, so I start with Dunsparce, and we have the super effective Dig. For some reason though, he just keeps going for Thunder Wave, which means he's boosting our special attack and not doing any damage. Manectric's up next and goes for Howl, as I go for yet another Dig. It's actually enough for a 2-hit KO as well, which is really nice, and next turn he just goes for Leer. This means I'm able to get one more dig off safely, and next up is Electrode. I switch in Tangela and go for the Revenge, as we survive a Shockwave with ease. Revenge now does double damage as well, so it almost takes it out from full health, but he just hangs on in the red, and then just decides to explode. It takes us both out, but that's not a problem as we're down to his final Pokemon Magnezone, who's 4 times weak to dig. It's not quite enough for a one-hit KO, but it does do a massive amount of damage, and once again he just goes for an electric move. He does heal up, but it's not enough to save him from another dig, so Magnezone goes down, and we earn ourselves the 3rd badge. It's time for another new team member, this time the regional form of Teddiursa. This thing now has a secondary fire type, so I'm glad to get some more type diversity on the team. Before doing anything else though, we evolve a couple more of our members. Tangela evolves into a Tangrowth, and Teddiursa evolves into Ursaring, and now gets the ability Adaptability, which is going to be really strong. With our newly evolved team, I take on Maxi, but to be honest, this was kind of an easy fight. Ursaring is up first, so I start with Dunsparce, and we almost take it out from full health with a super effective dig, thanks to a critical hit. He does hit back with the Thrash though, and unfortunately he gets a critical hit of his own, so we go down from full health, and I send in Muramoth. This thing's really bulky though, so it takes a Thrash no problem, and we can just take it out with a Signal Beam from there. Camerup's up next, so I swap into Tangrowth, and go for the move Bramble Bash, which is basically a fighting type version of Rage, but a lot more powerful. The first one doesn't do masses of damage, but after surviving an Earth Power, one more brings it down to red health, and he just goes for a Focus Energy, so one more takes it out. I stay in for his last Pokemon Tangrowth, who just goes for an Ember, which we are weak to thanks to our ability, but we still just hang on, and do a good amount of damage with another Bramble Bash. Obviously we can't survive another Ember, so I swap into my Ursaring, and he just goes for Smokescreen, so from there, 1 strength is all we need. We beat Maxi and move on to the 4th gym leader Flannery, but this was a similar fight. Larvesta's up first, so I start with Dunsparce, and go for a Thunderbolt for a good amount of damage, as she just goes for a Light Screen. One more takes it out though, and Camerupt is up next. I decide to stay in and go for a Dig, which to be honest doesn't do that much damage, and she does a lot of damage in return with an Eruption. I am able to hit one more Dig though to bring it down to KO range, and because of the way Eruption works, we actually survive a second one. I don't know why I didn't go for another Dig, but I decided to go for Body Slam, and it leaves her on a sliver of health, as we get taken out by a Body Slam of her own. I send in Ursaring though and go for the Quick Attack, which is a guaranteed KO from there, and next up is Rapidash. She goes for the Bounce, and unfortunately she does get the Paralysis too, but we're still able to hit a Strength to bring it down to red health, and I was going to take it out with a Quick Attack, but we get fully paralysed, but then she just goes for Double Edge, and takes herself out. Great play there. Her final Pokemon is the Fire Steel type Skarmory, so I swap into Tangrowth. We survive a Flare Blitz with health to spare, and thanks to both the recoil and our ability, she does a lot of damage to herself. We then hit the Revenge, which is super effective, and it's enough to finish it off from there, winning us the 4th gym badge. Before taking on the 5th gym though, we actually get ourselves yet another team member, this time a Pinsir. I'm pretty sure this is based on the beta design, and in this game it's Bug Ground. I catch it and add it to the team, where I discover that it has the ability Pure Power. This doubles the attack stat, so this is going to be a real powerhouse. Next up is normal gym leader Norman, who starts off with the Linoon. Tangrowth is basically the best Pokemon against this gym, and this is a great example of this, as his Body Slam does next to nothing, and we can take it out with 1 Revenge. Blissey comes out next, so I swap into our new Pinsir, and just go for a Stab Dig, which thanks to our ability is easily enough to take it out from full health. Exploud is up next, so I swap into Muramoth, and go for a new move, Hive Mind. This is a powerful bug-type stab move, and I think it's a special move that targets the physical defense. It doesn't do as much as I was expecting though, and his Hyper Voice does over half. I switch over to Dark Pulse this time, and we actually end up getting the flinch as well. I'm able to bring it down to red health with 1 more Dark Pulse, as we finally get taken out by another Hyper Voice. I just switch in Dunsparce though and finish it off with a Thunderbolt, and we're down to his final Pokemon Slacking. Once again I go for the Revenge, and we take a Facade like it's nobody's business. Revenge hits and does a huge amount of damage as well, but he does eat a Citrus Berry, which means as he doesn't attack us the next turn, 1 more Revenge isn't quite enough. He then just goes for the Giga Impact, but we actually survived that as well, and we can just take it out with 1 more Revenge. This was a perfect example of just how bulky Tangrowth is in this game. We defeat Norman and move on to the next gym, and I was looking for a Pokemon to surf for me, and I actually found a shiny Poochyena. The shiny only video was a few weeks ago. I catch it anyway as no shiny left behind, even if I can't use it. I do eventually find a Pokemon to surf though, and we can catch our final new team member, Tentacool. In this game it's a water electric type, and again I really like this design. I evolve it into a Tentacruel which looks even better, but that's not the only Pokemon we evolve. We also evolve Dunsparce. We now have the majestic Drasparath, which I am definitely looking forward to using. This thing's ability turns normal moves into flying moves, and just look at that speed stat. I can already tell, this is going to be an amazing team member. We take on May once again, but I'm not even going to include this fight, as her team is barely changed. Instead, let's take on the 6th gym leader, Winona. She starts off with a Swellow, so I lead with our new Drasparath, and we actually outspeed it and take it out with a single Thunderbolt. I told you this thing was going to be good. The regional form of Dodrio is up next, so I swap into Tentacruel, but unfortunately we do actually get outspared and taken out with a single Earthquake. I send in Tangrowth and hit a Fake Out, and next turn she goes for a Brave Bird, but look how easily we take the hit. After all the recoil damage we hit a Knockoff, which brings it down to low health, and unfortunately we do get taken out by a critical hit Brave Bird the next turn, but all that residual damage takes her out as well. Pelipper's up next, so I swap back into Dress Breath, and easily take it out with a single Thunderbolt. Next up is Togekiss, so I hit another Thunderbolt, which brings it down to red health as she just goes for Wish. She does heal up with a Citrus Berry, but is not going to save her from a powerful Thunderbolt, and now we're down to our final Pokemon, Tropius. I go for the Ancient Power for some decent damage, as she hits a weak Brave Bird. I decide to go for a Thunderbolt the next turn, and we actually end up getting a critical hit as well to take it out, and with that we earn ourselves the 6th badge. There's another fight with Maxi here, but his team is genuinely the exact same as it was last time, so we beat him with ease, and move on to the 7th gym leaders, Tate and Liza. They lead with Grumpig and Hypno, so I start off with my 2 bug types. Grumpig just goes for a Magic Coat, which doesn't bother me in the slightest, as Muramoth hits a Hive Mind for a 1-hit KO on Hypno. Solrock comes out next, as Pinsir goes for an X-Scissor on the Grumpig for another 1-shot. Their last new Pokemon Lunatone comes out now, so I go for a Dark Pulse on the Solrock, and we get another 1-hit KO thanks to a critical hit. Lunatone does put us to sleep with the Hypnosis, but that doesn't matter in the slightest, as Pinsir can just hit one more X-Scissor and get a 4th 1-hit KO. That was definitely the easiest gym fight yet. We didn't even take a single point of damage. We had to face off against Archie as well, but again this wasn't that difficult of a fight. Mightyena goes down in a single Dragon Pulse from Dress Breath thanks to a crit, and Sharpedo goes down in a single Thunderbolt. The regional form of Dewgong comes out now, and I was going to use this thing but I went with Tentacruel in the end. It does survive the Thunderbolt just about and hit a Mega Horn, which unfortunately does take us out, but I can just swap into Ursaring and finish it off with a Quick Attack, and we're already down to his final Pokemon for Alligator. I send in Tentacruel and go for the Overcharge, which if you don't know is a really powerful electric move, but it does paralyze the user. In this case though that's not a problem, as we're on his final Pokemon and it goes down in 1 hit, so we win. The 8th gym wasn't really a problem either, as he uses water types and we have 2 electric types on the team. Mantine's up first but goes down in a single Spark from Tentacruel, and Whiscash is up next. Obviously I can't use electric type moves on this thing as it's part ground, so I send in Muramoth and go for a Dark Pulse. It doesn't do that much though and he goes for an Amnesia, so I go for Hive Mind this turn, and it ends up doing a lot of damage thanks to a critical hit. He just goes for another Amnesia though, so I go for one more Hive Mind, thinking it would be an easy KO, but no. He actually survives and goes for a Scald, and gets the burn too. One more Hive Mind does take it out though, and Politoed is up next. I swap back into Tentacruel and I actually misclicked here and went for a Dive, but it is boosted by his Drizzle ability, so it actually still does some good damage. He just goes for Perish Song so I can go for a Spark the next turn to finish it off, and swap into Dress Breath for his next Pokemon Crawdon. I just outspeed and go for a Thunderbolt for an easy KO, and we're already down to his final Pokemon, Kingdra. I outspeed and have the super effective Dragon Pulse, which brings it down to red health, as he hits back with a Dragon Pulse of his own. Unfortunately it takes us out from full health though, but I'm not really worried at all, as I have the old reliable, adaptability boosted Quick Attack from Ursaring. We get an unnecessary crit for the KO, and we've now earned all 8 badges. Before we can face the Elite Four though, of course we have to fight Wally, but this wasn't that difficult of a fight, but to be honest, when is it ever? Altaria is up first so I lead with Ursaring, and despite being not very effective, Flare Blitz does good damage. He starts setting up Dragon Dances though, which could be a problem, but instead of attacking he just goes for Safeguard, so I can just take it out with the strength from there. Gallade is up next so I switch in Tentacruel, and go for a Waterfall, which does about half. He just sets up a Sword Stance though, so I can outspeed and take it out with one more, and Roserade is up next. I switch in Ursaring as obviously this thing's weak to fire, and we do get poisoned by a Toxic, but Flare Blitz is an easy KO, and next up is Delcatty. I switch in Tangrowth but he does go for the Charm, which means our Bramble Bash doesn't do too much damage. He goes for a Feint Attack though, which literally does 2 damage, and because of our ability, one more brings it down to a sliver of health. He goes for Assist but just gets Dragon Dance, which means we can take it out with one more, and next up is Magnezone. I send in Pinsir and go for the Earthquake, which is 4 times super effective, so yeah, that thing is very, very dead. Gardevoir comes out next, and traces our Pure Power, which would have been a problem if he had any physical moves, but instead he just takes us out with a Psychic. I send in Tentacruel and go for the Overdrive, which is complete overkill as we get a critical hit as well, and we beat Wally just like that. Now we have arrived at the Pokemon League, let's look at our final team. Overall, I think we've got a really nice diverse bunch of Pokemon here, and I really like every single one of these Pokemon's designs as well. The Elite Four is definitely the most difficult part of this game though, so let's see how well our team of regional forms stacks up against them. First up is Ghost type user Phoebe, who leads off with the Dusclops. I start with Murammoth as we have the super effective Dark Pulse, and it does well over half, as she just goes for a Calm Mind. This does unfortunately mean she just survives the second Dark Pulse though, but we actually get the lucky flinch, so we can just take it out with a Flash. Yes, Flash is an attacking move in this game. Banner is up next, so I stay in, and bring it down to red health with a single Dark Pulse. We get another lucky flinch as well, which means one more takes it out, and Dusknoir's up next. I go for yet another Dark Pulse, but it doesn't even do half, but she just goes for Nightshade, which we can easily take, and we bring it down to a sliver with one more. She does fully heal with the rest though, and because of her using Sleep Talk, we just miss out on the KO before going down ourselves. I send in Tentacruel just to finish it off with a Spark, and next up is Gengar. She does hit a decently powerful Ice Beam, but in true Tangrowth fashion we take the hit, and hit back with a knockoff, which is almost enough for a one-hit KO but not quite, but we're just able to survive the second Ice Beam, and take out with the second knockoff. Lantern's up next and this thing is part Ghost, so I swap back into Tentacruel again, and go for a Spark. Much to my surprise it's enough for a one-hit KO, and we're already down to our final Pokemon Kofagrigus. I send in Drasparath and go for the Thunderbolt, which doesn't even do half as we get put to sleep, and unfortunately we can't wake up before we go down to a couple of Shadow Balls, so I just end the battle the only way I know how, by using Overdrive with Tentacruel. It's enough to finish it off of course, and we win the first match of the Elite Four. Grass type user Serena's up next, and she starts off with the Drought Sunflora, so I switch in Murammoth, and take it out with a single Hive Mind. Vileplume's up next, so I swap into Ursaring, and while we do get outsped and poisoned by a Sludge Bomb, we can hit an insanely powerful Flare Blitz, which is boosted by both the Sun and Adaptability. Needless to say, it's enough to take us both out, so I send in Murammoth once again, for her next Pokemon, a Grass Rock type version of Shuckle. Now this thing is really bulky, and even our super effective Signal Beam hardly does anything, so I decide to switch into Pinsir, and basically just brute force it. I go for the super effective Stab Megahorn that's also boosted by Pure Power, but even that's not quite enough. Thankfully though she just goes for Leech Seed, which means we can just go for an X-Scissor the next turn to finally take it out. Meganium's up next, so I swap back into Murammoth, and she thankfully misses a Grass Whistle, so we can hit a Hive Mind for good damage. She does have a Citrus Berry though, and she doesn't miss the next turn, and just starts hitting Petal Dance, but we wake up really quickly, and hit a Signal Beam. It brings it down to red health, and after surviving another Petal Dance, we can just take it out with one more. Ferrothorn is up next, so I swap into Tangrowth, and go for a Submission, which is going to be an easy 2-hit KO, as thankfully she misses a Thunder Wave. This means I can take it out easily with one more, and we're down to our final Pokemon. It's another regional form, this time Reuniclus, so I switch in Pinsir and Outspeed and just go for the 4x super effective X-Scissor. It goes without saying that it's an easy one-hit KO, and we beat Serena. Glacier's ice types were a little bit more of a challenge, but still not unbeatable. Lapras is up first and this thing has multi-scale, which means Tangrowth's Submission hardly does any damage. She goes for Perish Song as well, but thankfully a second Submission is now enough to take it out, and I switch into Murammoth for her next Pokemon Frostlass. We get outsped and hit by an Ice Beam, but we take the hit no problem, and a Dark Pulse does a huge amount of damage. Unfortunately though we do get put to sleep, and we can't wake up before getting taken out. I send in Drasparath though, who outspeeds and takes it out with an Ancient Power, and not only that, we get the all-stat boost as well. I will take that. Because of this, her next Pokemon Walrein goes down in a single Thunderbolt. Trust me, that crit was not necessary. And next up is Chrysalix. I stay in and go for an Ancient Power, but this thing's got really good special defense, and she hits back with an Ice Beam, which despite our +1 in special defense, is enough to take us out. I send in Ursaring though and just go for the Flare Blitz, and it is enough to KO from that range, and Mamoswine is up next. I stay in and thankfully we outspeed, and one single Flare Blitz is all we need for a one-hit KO as well, so now we're just down to a final Pokemon, Glalie. You already know what's coming. I swap in Tentacruel, go for the Overcharge, but it's not enough to take it out.
No.
Her crunches really aren't doing that much damage though, so we can take 2 no problem, and just finish it off with a Waterfall. Glalie goes down, and we've already beaten 3 of the Elite Four. The final member of the Elite Four is Drake, and let me tell you, this guy just basically swept my entire team. There's just no way we're winning this fight at our current level. Or so I thought. I actually got insanely lucky with this one run, where I finish off the Dragonite with an Ancient Power, and we get the stat boost. This now means that we're not only faster than his entire team, but our special attack is boosted as well, so we can just take out his entire team with boosted Dragon Pulses. Even his own Drasparath, which is 14 levels higher than mine, goes down in one hit thanks to a critical hit. I don't even know if we needed the crit though. It's insane how easy this fight was once we just got a little bit of luck. And yeah, it was basically a full-on sweep up until this final Pokemon Garchomp. It just survives a Dragon Pulse on red health and takes us out with an Earthquake. It was a fun run while it lasted, but we're now in really good shape to win this fight, so I just send in Muramoth, who takes a Fire Blast like an absolute champion and finishes it off with a Hive Mind. That was his final Pokemon as well, so now all we need to do to beat this game is beat the champion Wallace. As with the 8th gym leader, he uses water types, so we do have some good type matchups, but our levels are just so low compared to his that we just can't win. We're able to beat his first 2 Pokemon with relative ease, but his own Tentacruel just wipes the floor with the rest of my team, so I was going to need to do some training. I come back with the team in the 60s, and this time things go much better. Wailord takes huge damage from a Spark, and not only does he get paralysed, but he can't move either. This means that one more Spark takes it out, and Gyarados is up next. Unfortunately, Spark is still not quite enough to take it out from full health, but he just goes for Dragon Dance instead of attacking, but does take us out with an Earthquake, so we just swap into Ursaring and Revenge Kill with a quick attack. Ludicolo's up next, so I swap into Muramoth, and go for the super effective Hive Mind, which is almost a one-hit KO, but he survives on a sliver of health, and hits back with a weak Surf. He just goes for a Seismic Toss the next turn, which we survive no problem, and take it out with a Signal Beam from there. Next up is Whiscash, so I swap into Tangrowth, and we have the 4x super effective Needle Arm, which does over half. We survive an Earthquake like it's absolutely nothing, which means one more Needle Arm's enough to finish that thing off as well, and Tentacruel's up next. I stay in as he goes through the Overcharge, and because it's a physical move, it hardly does any damage. He gets paralysed and then we go for an Earthquake which does massive damage as well, and now we're faster, so one more Earthquake's all we need. We're now just down to his final Pokemon Milotic, which is level 70. He goes to the Raging Waves, which are able to survive, which means we can go for a knockoff. It gets rid of his Mystic Water, which is going to be really useful, but we do get taken out the next turn, so I send in Drasparath, as it's basically the best Pokemon for this situation. I outspeed and go for a Thunderbolt, and it is just enough to take it out, and we've done it. We beat Wallace, and beat Pokémon Blazing Emerald, using only regional forms. Except we're not quite done yet though. As everyone knows, there is one more final boss before we can say we've won. And if you've seen my last Blazing Emerald video, you'll know that it's not Steven, but Red. I decided just to try this fight on my current level, but his team are at least level 94, so it goes without saying that we lose very, very badly. It was worth a go though, right? I decided to make my whole team level 69.
It's funny because it's the weird number.
And try once again. Pikachu's up first, so I start with Drasparath, and as with Drake, we get insanely lucky. We get the Ancient Power boost on the first turn, which means that I can go for a Dragon Pulse to finish it off from there, and Charizard's up next. Ancient Power's 4x super effective, so I just go for it for an easy one-hit KO, and next up is Blastoise. I go for Thunderbolt, which does well over half, but unfortunately he hits back with the Blizzard, and even with our boosted special defense, we are not surviving that. I send in Tentacruel though, who's faster, and we can actually finish it off with a Spark, and next up is Venusaur. I send in Ursaring with the hopes of taking it out with a Flare Blitz, and we just survive a Sludge Bomb with 31 health left, and thanks to our ability, one Flare Blitz is just enough. It does take us out as well, but that's fine, so I send in Tentacruel for his next Pokemon Lapras. Spark does next to no damage thanks to his ability Multiscale, but he just goes for Blizzard, which isn't very effective, so we take the hit and I go for the Overcharge, and thankfully it is just enough. Lapras goes down and now we're just down to his final Pokemon Snorlax, but I'm feeling kinda confident. I have Tangrowth who goes for the Submission, which does well over half as it's super effective, and while yes we do a lot of damage to ourselves in recoil, he just goes for Blizzard which hits off of his weak special attack stat, which means we survive the hit with health to spare, and we can take it out with one more Submission. Snorlax goes down and we've actually done it. I can't believe we actually won this battle with Pokemon at level 69. Well, I've got to hand it to the creator of this game. The regional forms are seriously good Pokemon in their own right. I really love the designs, and the type combos on offer here were really good as well. I would love to see even more regional forms added to this game in the future, and you should definitely put in a regional form of Delibird. My personal favourite members of the team were definitely Drasparath and Tangrowth. Drasparath was lightning fast, pun intended.
No.
And it could hit super hard, while Tangrowth could basically just tank any physical hit it wanted. Overall, this was a really solid team, and this run has solidified this game as one of my favourite ROM hacks in recent memory. It's definitely right up there with Drayano's hacks and Ultra Red. If you enjoyed this video, then please consider leaving a like, and comment down below with what challenge I should take on next. If you want more regional form videos, then please just take a look at the Ultra Red Monotype videos I've done on my channel. I think you'll really enjoy them, and there may be more of those coming out soon as well. All the links you need for my Twitter and Discord etc. are in the description, so make sure to follow me on those if that's what you're into, and that's pretty much all I've got for you today. Thank you all so much for watching, until next time.